Both types of sports with Schoode and Tor. Football discussion on the internet.
Last one of the 2024 NFL campaign. Welcome, everybody, to both types of sports, football discussion on the internet. I am your host, Chad Dukes, soon to be joined by radio's Gigantor. Looking forward to it. Drop the likes, please, the shares, all the fun stuff. If you're listening to the podcast, please feel free to do one of them fancy 5-star reviews. We'd love to have you. If you are watching on YouTube, we have audio podcasts. They are free, and you can subscribe right now on iTunes or Spotify. Links at the bottom of the page, and of course in the description of the episode. BTOS is presented by, as they have been all season long, Dream Stay Getaways in Florida. If you're going down to the theme parks, saw Jalen Hurts riding around on a Tron roller coaster. Look cool as shit. If you're going to go do all that stuff, go to dreamstaygetaways.us. Check out the houses. They're on resorts. They're beautiful. They're big. If you got kids, they got lots of stuff for you to do. Should be a really good hit. And then you would avoid all those Verbo fees. Verbo. Biggest vacation hustle around, Jack. So just go to the website, dreamstaygetaways.us. You'll see all the pictures and all the amenities. Great location if you're going down to Florida to get out of the cold weather. Mekhi Becton winning a Super Bowl is pound for pound the closest the Jets will ever get to winning one. Well, I mean, it is a great look. I hated on this Super Bowl as much as you could hate on this Super Bowl. There's stuff to root for. Jalen Hurts doesn't seem like a bad guy. Him getting MVP after all the shit that was talked. Sirianni being a champion now. I guess I'm left with more questions than I have answers for. We can get to some of that today, but Becton's a great story. I mean, he was drafted and then couldn't stay on the field and then was a big fat "I thing," to coin a phrase, and then released and now wins the Super Bowl. And the guy's from Richmond, Virginia. That's a nice local story. What are you laughing at?
You popped me talking about Mekhi. Big ticket 77. Come on down.
I'm just saying there was shit to root for in that game, even though it was atrocious. I think you shared a text with me about just how awful it was. There were a couple of commercials that popped me. The Harrison Ford one where he's driving the Jeep and he says, even though my last name is Ford. I like that one. I like the one where Matt Damon and David Beckham were going to be brothers, and they took a dig needlessly at Ben Affleck. There's a couple of good spots, but Tor, there were so many puppies and emotional pornography and Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady teaching us about hate. Is for a halftime show, a complete blowout, and the commercials. That might have been the worst Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the typical emotional porn either. It was just there, and maybe we're just getting desensitized to it now, thinking about with the commercials and how it's all got to be crying, and it's got to be girls better than boys in football, and it's got to be all this type of stuff that you're seeing. But I kind of tuned them out a little more. The game wasn't as entertaining. I was just kind of trying to watch the game and enjoy it. But once the game takes me out of it, I'm going to start spiraling and just plainly watch the TV.
The NFL, I'm convinced, because that commercial where the girl was Saquoning the boys and being a shithead, and then we're supposed to care if girls varsity flag football is in every high school in America. There's high school programs that can't support a dude's contact varsity team. Yeah. Why would I give a fuck about that? And why would you attack the people that you want to care about this in the commercial itself?
I think a lot of people, I had both sisters play powder puff football. They never said, wow, I want to play even more football. Never approached me with that. Never once. Good, tall, could jump, physical, all the things that I couldn't do. They were doing on a football field. And I was impressed. And it's just really confusing to keep attacking what football players are and who plays football and who watches football for what?
I don't know. Why should I care if a girl ever plays foot? Why would I give a fuck about that? Like, why Why should any of us care about that? Even if you have daughters, like my daughter wants to play flag football. Well, she can. There's ways to do that. And if she's good enough, maybe she can play with the boys. And if she's good enough there, maybe she can play on the boys' contact team. And if she's good enough there, maybe she can play college football. Like, there's no barrier here. It's just whether or not you can do it or not. And if you're talking about dedicating more resources, show me the armies and armies of girls that are being repressed by not being given flag football. That whole fucking thing like a lot of the commercials are just like, why are you lecturing me about this? I'm here to be entertained. Hey, Kendrick Lamar, why are you lecturing me? I'm here to be entertained. Oh, this is going to fly over their heads. It isn't going to fly over my heads. Let me guess. Just like America, and he thinks we're all racist. Did I get it right? Holy shit. I actually thought Sam Jackson was out there being pro-America during that halftime. I did not. I didn't believe that. Why would Trump take a picture with Jackson Mahomes? Why would he protect himself?
I played against a girl in high school football. She did fine. She was good. She played for Centerville or something like that.
Good.
It didn't make a newspaper because she was just playing football, and people that play football just want to play football. And for some reason, that really irritates a lot of people. When it was inclusive, one of the coaches at my high school played for the United States, was a gold medal winner, United States football player for the women's team. They had one in D.C., played for the D.C. Divas. She coaches on the Browns now. Great. Sometimes they do a video feature with her, but I'm not seeing her repost a bunch of stuff like this saying, oh, this is what we... No, she played tackle football. If it's also promoting flag,
because it's patronizing and it's condescending, and flag football can go fuck itself.
So sick of it.
These flag football guys that want to be like, no, we don't want Tyreek Hill to play flag football for America. You don't? We don't want, like, why do I care if you get to go represent America? I want America to win a gold in a sport that's uniquely our own. I want Jalen Hurts to quarterback the fucking team that's going to go over there and whoop up on the globe. That's what I want.
And everyone that starts to say, oh, flag's not that bad. There was a celebrity flag football game taking place with massive internet celebrities. Go look at the quality of that broadcast and how much fun it was to watch compared to what actual tackle football looked like. And tell me what you would want to watch on a Sunday. It's different. It's so crazy to keep on defootballing football.
That's what that starts from the top down, though. Al Sal, thank you so much for the super chat. We do accept super chats. $2. Thank you. What's your take on the Jameis Winston push? I've never seen a more goofy Jameis Winston. Jameson Winston, is that what you said? Jameis Winston is Russell Wilson with a better publicist. He's just a different type of a fucking goofball. He's not religious. There's a video of him like serving drinks, pretending like he's a pirate. There's not a laugh to be found for 100 years. Like, Jameis Winston is a fucking goofball, and I have no idea why he gets the positive press that he does. Like, I understand the Kelce brothers. I hate their guts. I want to never see them ever again. But I kind of understand. Like, they're funny together. They're all pros. They're brothers. One of them is getting the most famous person. The Jameis Winston thing, I was like, there have to be 700 other dudes that are more entertaining than this guy that are not getting the push that he is.
Jameis is overly positive. He's charismatic. People like him. Not a lot of people have a bad thing to say personally about Jameis Winston. And I did see a clip of him talking about Cleveland and how it has the best 90-day stretch of anywhere else in the nation. I think when the fall starts creeping up on him. So when you get him in an actual interview, I like it. But using him as like a caricature for your content and just say, hey, Jameis, go out and do just go be you in the streets in New Orleans. Like, I understand that content plan. I prefer him over like them doing it with Marshawn Lynch when he was getting all that push and being sent everywhere. But they were hacking it up this past Super Bowl with him big time. Not a lot of real prep content. Just
no. I mean, good for him.
Yeah,
I know he was the quarterback there. I guess maybe there was some synergy, but like, go out and make it all. I mean, if you can make it all about yourself and raise your Q rating or whatever the hell they call that, fine, go do it. I don't understand why everyone is so entertained. Jason from Connecticut, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, bud. Eagles players came across as very likable in the pre and post. I was generally happy for those guys. 100%. Yeah. Never Sirianni, annoying as shit, spouting the same 7 fucking catchphrases. His eyes are very close together. But the players, I thought Jalen Hurts came off really well. I thought AJ Brown came off really well. He can be kind of a weirdo at times. And Saquon is just like, if you're the Giants, every time that guy opens his fucking mouth door, and he didn't even have a good game.
Yeah.
He's just so goddamn impressive, and he's such an ambassador for the position, for, sport itself. He's so humble. He's I
He's a
don't
role model. He's
he
a role
is.
model. He is somebody. He is an athlete that kids can look up to and should look up to. Aspire to be Saquon Barkley, because he does all the right things. The Eagles players, the most likable Eagles team that I can remember in a while, players wise. There's not somebody that I was actively rooting against. The head coach, though, he hurts them. He hurts them big time. Devontae Smith, how can you not root for that guy? Undersized, Heisman winner, goes against all the odds, keeps on producing and performing in the NFL. Like, they got I love their investment in the trenches. They do a lot of really good things, but they got an absolute doofus head coach, and Eagles fans make everything worse. They compound it, and you got Big Dom, and there's too much. There's just too much. There's too much around. Like, they're taking away. It's like when we talk about, hey, could a player's family just for once not try to ruin that player's career? It feels like it's coming from the coach and the security team trying to ruin the vibes of this good team from the NFC.
How are we in a world where the Eagles, if the Eagles were any other team, Tor, if they were the Lions, if not the Cowboys, but if they were the Commanders, if they were the Buccaneers, they would be America's darlings right now. Because you're right, the players were so likable and they were so talented, but because I didn't even pull the clips of those moronic fans burning down their city. Like, I mean, it's just such low hanging fruit. I know everyone's having fun with that, but it just, you knew it was going to happen whether they win or whether they lose. How did that Big Dom guy, he gets in between Sirianni and the Fox cameras as the Eagles win the Super Bowl, and they're, get up, give him some room, guys, get away, and then he's hovering around behind. Like, I don't know any other security guy's name in the football league. How did we get here?
How is it that security detail is supposed to be monitoring everybody and have a great bird's eye view and just see the situation, see every angle? How can you do that if you're just in Sirianni's pocket the whole time? It's so annoying that I know him. I shouldn't know him. He should just be quality control guy. And maybe you get an NFL features bit before a Week 8 game. Like, oh, here's one of the unsung heroes of the team. They do that for equipment guys. They do that for special cases. If you're a good character, if you mean something to the team or the community. He just made him. He basically gave himself a nickname. Like, he had a kid that was growing up that decided, hey, I'm going to give myself a nickname. That's not how it works, man. You get chosen for a nickname. And he did that, and America just bit because it was Big Dom, and he's big.
I don't.
I can't stand it.
It's the same reason why. I mean, it's just Tardo sports fans, man. They're just so incapable. Like, they don't. If someone grows a mustache, like, they can't get over it. Like, Phillip Rivers walks out with a bolo tie. We hear about it for 5 fucking years. It's just it's a raccoon with a flashy fork, a shiny fork, flashy fork. Aaron Kenny, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. Weirdly glad the season is over. Looking forward to the offseason. Completely agree. I think the season was the regular season I really enjoyed. There was ebbs and flows. I think we talked about this, Tor. The postseason, there were some real shit games. A lot of the narrative was about the officials, and I've got a conspiracy theory that I shared today on the Chad Duke show that I want to run past you, just because there's so much conversation now about the referees after DeAndre Hopkins' comments, which I pulled so we can react to that. Here's the main takeaway I had from the Super Bowl. And again, it's not to take anything away from the Eagles. I said this on CDS today. They had their moment, their swoon, when you need to have it, Tor, is in the middle of the season. When he's yelling at the fucking fans on the sideline and they're barely beating the Browns, who are a bad team. And you and I came on here and everybody said, Jesus Christ, just hire Mike Vrabel. He'll get you to the next level with this talented team. And then they became the best team in football during the time you need to be the best team in football. So I don't want to take away from that story, but I saw this tweet and I wanted us to respond to it. I think I sent it over to you when we were just preparing for the show earlier. And I don't know who this dude is. His name is Joe Dolan. After watching the Chiefs get debacled right there on national television, I just can't explain much about the Bills or Ravens' struggles to get by Mahomes outside of them just completely getting into their own heads. Mahomes is obviously great, but that Chiefs team was almost certainly the most flawed Chiefs team of his tenure, and Baltimore and Buffalo still couldn't get over the hump. It's wild. And this is a thought that I had almost immediately to where I'm like, they're not just beating the Chiefs, they are kicking the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are talented, and the Eagles have Saquon, and they got some killers on defense, but they're rushing for, like, they're just pushing this team. You're telling me the Bills and the Ravens have had how many cracks at this squad, and they just can't figure it out? And it's inexplicable shit. They stop running the football. Josh Allen goes and starts playing hero ball again. They just go back to all their old trappings. And how has no one been able to figure out Mahomes the way that we saw Vic Fangio and the Eagles figure out Mahomes defensively?
That's what bummed me out about the playoffs so much, is because the Ravens and the Bills played phenomenally entertaining regular seasons. You know, regular season football, there's tons of roughing the passer calls. You're trying to protect and keep guys healthy. This is the first year, by the way, where I was actually really pleased with the regular season. It wasn't like injury fest like a couple years ago where every starting quarterback was tearing their ACL. Like I thought that the regular season held up, but you can't the inability to transition from regular season football where we're world beaters to, oh, we got to play the guys in red again. What is that? What is that? It's some type of mental block. It's you have to meet the moment better as a team. You have to meet the moment better as a coaching staff. So confusing, and that kind of it felt like the Chiefs just knew how to win playoff football games, and the others don't yet, which is frustrating because they know how to win regular season games as well as anybody. There were Bills games this year that floored me how efficient they were when they turned it on. And you get to the playoffs and you're like, that's all they had for them.
Right.
It makes you feel like the regular season was devalued and you wasted a bunch of energy getting excited, even though my eyes weren't lying to me. I know that the Ravens running attack should have been able to run over anybody, and then they just couldn't. It's really it was annoying how that shook out, knowing that there should have been better football around the corner when they were actually letting them play.
I think everyone in the AFC is shook. I think they all are seeing ghosts. I think that Mahomes and Reed are in their heads. I don't think it's a coincidence, Tor, that the last time we saw the Chiefs really get demolished like this, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's another comparison in the regular season, but it's 31-9 to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let's just shut it down. I mean, maybe Patrick Mahomes wins 5 more Super Bowls and we can revisit it, but I don't know, man. I just feel like the Brady conversation, the head-to-head matchup, and then some of this shit just makes me think I'm never going to feel the same way about you that I feel about Tom Brady, what he was able to accomplish. Maybe that's a recency bias. I'm not sure, but it's going to come from the NFC. The NFC is not intimidated by Mahomes the same way. And the Eagles this is why, spoiler alert, the people that are talking about the refs, Tor, that might be an argument if we didn't sit there and watch the rest of the game and just watch the Eagles systematically kick the shit out of them for 3.5 quarters until it didn't matter anymore.
It was if you wanted to feel like that first call was tick-tacky, and that the Chiefs are getting bailed out, okay, that's one call. And that was early in the first quarter, and we got 3 more quarters of Patrick Mahomes, who just started running around like a madman in the back of the pocket, throwing interceptions, fumbling the ball, doing things that he doesn't do. Yeah, shocking to see that become his decision.
But Tor, any other quarterback, Andy would say, let's slow this down. Let's run some wide receiver screens. We got super fast wide receivers. We got all these guys now that we didn't have at some point during the season. Xavier Worthy might be, the second best wide receiver out there on the field. Let's get him involved. Let's throw some quick digs. Let's get fucking the offense into a rhythm. And they never did. It was just Mahomes dropping back. Nobody's open. And then him pinwheeling around for 7 seconds until there's a defensive end dragging him down onto the field.
And they never blitzed, which was maddening.
Crazy.
To think that it was just four rushers constantly crushing that offensive line. They schemed it. They wanted it more. Defense is an effort side of the ball. This is a damning Super Bowl for Mahomes. It is. Yep. And it hurts him even more because no matter if he keeps getting better, that's only helping Brady's legacy more because Brady beat him when Brady was in his 40s. He beat him.
And you ever remember seeing Brady play like that, though, in a Super Bowl?
Never.
Like he's just completely out of his element, that he doesn't belong.
He had a half against Atlanta, and then he turned into Tom Brady again in the second half. The best fucking performance I've ever seen in my life from a quarterback. It was unbelievable. And you thought maybe Mahomes could have done that. He didn't. It's crazy. And then the narrative started this past week, and it started getting a little nasty about who he's beaten in the Super Bowl, and it's Jimmy Garoppolo, and it's Brock Purdy, and it was Jalen Hurts. Well, Jalen Hurts can cross himself off that list after getting this win, but it's still Garoppolo and Purdy, which aren't world beaters. That cancels out Brady's Delhomme, even though Delhomme was playing well that year. And that might cancel out some other.
I think that's disingenuous revisionist history. Those 49ers teams had killers all over the field. They were well coached. They have their own issues when it comes to getting to the final game. What did you think of Jalen winning the MVP?
I was fine with it. I oscillate so much on Jalen, from trying too hard. He's kind of being a little corny. I wish he was a better passer, but he's just kind of college footballing it. He's doing what I think people wanted to see Tebow do in the NFL, and it's working. And he's got a pro style mentality. He doesn't back down. He's a pro at the mic every time, even if he's doing Instagram scripture. It doesn't seem to faze him. And I think he also grew from the last Super Bowl to this Super Bowl. The first one, you just had that feeling like he just isn't going to put the ball on the turf like he did in that first one, and he didn't. He played a really good game. I was comfortable. I was fine with him being the MVP. I think maybe they should have just given it to Howie Roseman, because he put together an absolute insane team over the last couple years, and this one really blossomed.
Josh Sweat had 2.5 sacks. You had the pick 6. Milton Williams had 2 sacks. The problem is if there was like a sack fumble picked up for a score, there were so many defensive guys that made big plays that it'd be difficult to say, okay, we're going to give one of them the MVP over the quarterback. I would like to see it happen, because that was 6 sacks on Patrick Mahomes, season high for him. He had 33 yards at halftime. And I know if you look at that box now for 257, 3 touchdowns, the casual is going to see that and be like, oh, Patrick Mahomes played well. He didn't. He did not. He was uncomfortable from tape to tape. So for me, it's like, man, I wish we could have figured out a way to get the defense more of the spotlight, because they deserved it. But Tor, if I told you that it was going to be Saquon's, I think, second worst, the whole the variable, right? Like, it was Saquon Barkley getting past that fucking stacked box and just running roughshod like he did against Washington in the championship game. And that just wasn't the way they won. They went out there and they threw the ball deep. He overcame mistakes. He had that terrible interception where they could have kicked the field goal and gone up 2 scores, overcame that. That was a complete and total team victory.
If you had told me that Saquon Barkley at the half had 34 yards, and I would have thought that meant that the Chiefs were up 24-0 at the half, I would have been certain of it. And lo and behold, other way around, they bottled him up. They schemed for him. They tackled him hard. Kansas City tried to hit him hard. They tried to get that ball out. He just did what he needed to. He got his carries. He made the most out of them. They game planned for him. You can stop the run, but they had so many playmakers where if A.J. Brown needed to make a play or Jalen Hurts needed to make a play, they did. And it was just really good football from the Eagles, which is frustrating to admit, but they played an excellent football game. And I watched Patrick Mahomes, probably the worst game that I can think of from him, but the worst individual performance out of him off the top of my head. And it's recency, and I know it's Super Bowl, it's going to elevate, but you can't do that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but was it something that happened? See, the part that I didn't like is if you go and you follow, NFL at Twitter or whatever it's called now, there was that theory everybody was postulating where you see him, he takes a hit first quarter, his head pings off the fucking turf real hard, and then people said, oh, he's got a concussion, he's concussed. That's what happened to him there. That's why he played like a goon. And granted, that guy is one of the greatest quarterbacks that's ever lived. It's very odd to see him get dominated. But Tor, why can't we just admit it is what it is that the Eagles outplayed him? They made him uncomfortable, and they hit him hard, and they hit him often. They hit him the entire game. He never got into a rhythm until they were, until they had dumped the Gatorade. Like, they got everything they got done was after A.J. Brown dumped Gatorade on the head coach, right? So, like, why? I don't want to take credit away from the effort of the champions because everyone's so obsessed with finding a reason why Pat Mahomes would have a bad game. He had a bad game because he ran up against a team that dominated him on the field.
I don't think Patrick Mahomes can get a concussion, personally. I would be hard-pressed to find someone that even gets their bell rung landing on the turf when they have a Kia Soul around their head, which is the size of his helmet,
I'm so glad it's getting attention. I'm so glad people are calling it out.
It's got to be a one of one. I've never seen, and this is not, obviously every helmet is a little bit specially designed in the NFL, but this one has to be a different model, make, brand, whatever it is. I've never seen a bigger helmet in my life. It's a bad look. It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing helmet.
Let me see if I can find that. Did you send me that one picture of it over?
Yeah, I texted it to you.
I mean, he's always had that kind of I'm an alien look where because you would think, okay, this is a guy like Derrick Henry or like DeAndre Hopkins. Like if you get the big braids or something like that, you got to fit him up under your helmet, but he doesn't have any of that. So what's going on with his big, dumb, stupid head? Like what does he have up under that Marvin the Martian crown that we see him with?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, maybe it's so no, it's his turn to be in the barrel. I was about to bail him out and jump on the grenade, but I'm starting to remember and think, no, he can have some time where he's getting a little bit of criticism after what he's done with the sideline antics, with the flopping, with all that. I didn't see it in this game, which is fine. That is absurd.
I mean, look where the crossbar of the face mask is in the dead center of his forehead. Look how much helmet there is up and behind. And Tor, we see him doing the press conferences, right? We see him in all the commercials. He doesn't have an alien fucking head. What's up there? Is that just empty space?
It's just got to be padding and air. What makes it weird is it's as tall as it is wide.
Yeah.
And that's not really how football helmets look. They're just supposed to be rounded around the head, but maybe they're trying to have more customizable designs that reflect the temples and all the little knockout buttons that give you concussions. It looks bad though.
I want to see the inside of it. I want them to cut it in half so I can see the structure of it. Because if not, I'm just going to assume that he's keeping like a kitten up there or something, some sort of a good luck pet. This is interesting because, of course, I have a conspiracy theory. But while we're shitting on fucking Mahomes, it should be stated, Tor, it's an ultimate team sport, right? But
yes,
a lot of those sacks were his fault, and he threw 2 terrible interceptions that broke the floodgates open. The pick 6 and the one that was down inside the red zone. And if the quarterback is in a unique position where they're the ones that make the decisions that can affect where the ball is going, a lot of players and positions don't get that right. You could make the argument that Patrick Mahomes went out there and lost them this Super Bowl. I mean, the performance was egregious enough that if someone came to me in a week and said they had his daughter tied up in the basement, or he owed, what's his name? What's the baseball player who's massage therapist just got locked up? Shohei Ohtani, like he's a Shohei Ohtani situation. I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that's why he went out there and played like a complete fucking goon. Like that's how bad it was. You don't need to get to the refs, but somebody did.
A lot of things in the media about the refs, but obviously, what y'all gonna say now about the refs and us when there was a lot of touchy calls? Are y'all gonna report that? Are y'all gonna talk about the refs now?
It is DeAndre Hopkins after the game, and I've got love for DeAndre Hopkins. But the problem with that is, Tor, there was a couple of penalties that you could point to directly. The unnecessary roughness call, Trent McDuffie's hit on Dallas Goedert, which was, I believe, a 4th down. It gave them a 1st down, and they went down and scored a touchdown. Nick Bolton's shove of Saquon Barkley, I believe, was an automatic 1st down. Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I said this at the beginning. I'll say it again now. We all watched the rest of the game. We all saw how those two teams were playing. It doesn't fucking, let's just say both of those calls were wrong. The Chiefs weren't going to win that game. The Chiefs didn't win a matchup all afternoon long. So I appreciate DeAndre Hopkins at least pointing it out, because that was a huge narrative leading up into this, and the referees should be scrutinized more than they are. But it's just fucking ridiculous to believe that had an effect on the outcome of the eventual outcome of the game.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, where you hear the noise, especially going in. You have a whole week where you're prepping for a game, but you're not playing that week. So you have more opportunity, media, Radio Row, everything like that. And those narratives are going to just get picked up in the wind, even if you're not on Twitter all day, every day. It's going to reach you. But there was not enough. there wasn't enough for anybody to think, wow, that was a call that if they got that, it would have changed the whole direction of the game. I think Patrick Mahomes turned the ball over 3 times in Philly's territory. He didn't even do it across the 50. The DeJean pick 6 was at like the 30. The other pick was at like the 25, and then the fumble, if I recall, I think it was closer to midfield, but it was still a fumble. And Philly just got the ball every time. They won the field position battle strictly off of turnovers, whereas that hideous Patriots-Rams game, they were just playing the punt game, trying to pin them and keep them in front of the 50. Nobody even crossed the 50-yard line until I think the late in the fourth quarter in that game. This was not that. This was an absolute bashing of a team that you had no excuses for. Nobody should be making an excuse for this one singular play or this group of 5 plays. If those outcomes had flipped, it would not have been a different game. There weren't enough points at jeopardy for that to flip the game around.
Also, Quay Bono. Who does it benefit? What benefits the NFL more? One of the reasons why people were so convinced that Mahomes specifically was getting this treatment, Tor, is because the quarterback position, they already favor the quarterbacks with the rules, with the way the offensive and the defenses are called. We already know that. And Mahomes is considered the best quarterback. So there was common sense there. Also, they pledged fealty to Taylor Swift last year. They continue to do it. They finally seem to learn their lesson, right? They showed her once or twice, and she gets booed roundly. Like the NFL did not expect Donald Trump to get cheered out of the building and Taylor Swift to get booed out of the building, or they would have handled it differently. So it feels like they got that under control, but her being involved was also a compelling reason why people thought this was a credible theory. What is the benefit of throwing it for the Philadelphia Eagles? There is none. It's not a team like the Cowboys or a team like Los Angeles Media Market too. They're desperate to have championships there. Give me the argument why they would want the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Kansas City Chiefs if we're going down that road.
To have basically, it doesn't make sense because we have almost the football equivalent of the Jordan LeBron debate with Brady and Mahomes, where you have a new face of the league successor winning a bunch of championships. Wow, we might actually be having a real passing of the torch to the greatest that there ever was. And you're telling me that the next guy to really usurp Brady had a chance at a three-peat, and the NFL is rigging it away from him, rigging away that discourse and coverage and all that? No. If it was the other way around and the Chiefs just blew out maybe then I'd tolerate that idea that they wanted that narrative, they wanted the history, they wanted the legacy. But no, it still remains a no three-peat ever in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes joins 2 Steelers teams in the 70s, a Packers team in the 60s, Denver. I think the Patriots were up for it also. Yeah, he's just in a long list now of teams. Dallas had a couple. Where he just didn't get it done. And I think I like it. I like that there's still a big challenge left on the board for a team, a dynasty that wants to come along and really get it. It
I think it'll be the Chiefs. The Chiefs
adds to the lore.
There's not enough time, I don't think, with Andy Reid left to go to 3, win 2 again. It's so here's something I can root against. Imagine having to put this back on after that. This is the tweet that we saw. If you're listening to the podcast, it is Travis Kelce walking in dressed like, I don't know what that is, Tor. Is that a zoot suit? Is that a leisure suit? I have no idea. He's wearing blue blockers. I've never seen anyone try harder and then go out and have, again, no impact. I'll just be happy when this phase is done. And maybe it will be done. I think he was asked after the game what his plans were, and I don't think there's anything definitive, but it is very clear to me he has transitioned into being a personality, and there'll be opportunities for him there. The podcast clearly makes money. There's a million commercials out there. I know he's signed with a big acting firm as well. So whatever facilitates this being less of a story, what he chooses to wear going in and out of a game and who he's dating, I'm all for that moving forward.
Yeah, just let's just jump all into that avenue. And he actually had one of the funnier SNL skit performances in recent history that I audibly laughed at. Where
I'll take your word for that.
You played a creep in an American Girl store. the doll store. That would actually pop me a couple times. This jacket, him trying to do a early 2000s NBA draft suit is tough. This is a bad look. It's too much going on. It's the Super Bowl. Just please. I know everyone in the NFL and professional sports thinks they're a fashion icon and thinks they're a model, and you're all keeping up with the Joneses and all keeping up with each other. It's starting to lose its impact the more that people are getting on it. It used to just be Cam Newton, and then Cam Newton and Serge Ibaka, and then everybody just started deciding I need to have the most insane designer walk-in outfits, and the rubes and idiots gobble it up for a while. It's run its course now. It really has. I don't care what players are wearing and their entrances. It's gone past, I can maybe emulate that style too. I'm never gonna that jacket and that bag costs more than I've ever made in my life.
You don't care about Tom Brady's watch? I mean, it was fucking Dave Portnoy getting 700,000 retweets because of Tom Brady's watch. I don't give a fuck. I assume Tom Brady wears a nice watch. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue to assume that. Christ. Jeffrey Schools, $2. Thank you for the super chats. We do accept super chats on this show. It was fun to watch Casey get kicked in the nuts. I would agree. Tor, I didn't know who I was going to root for. I was sure I wasn't going to root anybody, and we ended up going to the pizza joint down from the studio, and there's nobody there. He let us have the whole bar. We're drinking Peronis, eating pizza and wings, and actually it was fantastic. We watched the fucking Kendrick performance, and I was just like, I fucking am missing something. Let's go. And then we went to the second half at the house. But I think it was the pick six. I forget. Something exciting happened for the Eagles, and I realized, I'm rooting for the Eagles to kick the shit. Watching the Chiefs be humbled is such a rare occurrence, and it feels good regardless of who's doing it. So I realized I'd say halfway through the first quarter that I was rooting for Philadelphia.
Yeah, this was a battle of evil, but I kind of started knowing who I was rooting for in this game. A lot of conversations I was having in my personal life about the game would start with, well, it's always F Philly, screw them for life, and then the but would come in, and we're like, oh, well, I guess we kind of don't want to see the Chiefs do this. Hate Philly, hate the Birds forever, but wouldn't it be awesome if Saquon got one? Wouldn't it be awesome if this happened? I'd be happy for A.J. Brown. I'd be happy for Smitty. And I'm like, yeah, I would have been happy for D-Hop. I really would have. I think that he has been a great player for this league, and he's a guy that I could have rooted for to get a ring. I liked the offensive lineman on Kansas City, but yeah, no, it was nice seeing them finally just get figured out and solved and just crushed. Like there was no more of that. There was no more, like next year, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is coming to camp with a little beer gut. Like, I think it's going to be, like, they can't just take it lightly and take it easy anymore and just coast. They got to play football through and through from here on out, which I appreciate.
It took a while, but it was something that I remember talking about last year when they just casually turned it on. They had that little swoon in the middle of the season, 4 or 5 games they lost, and then by the end, they just said, okay, we're better than everybody. Well, you're not. You're living rent-free in the Buffalo Bills, and that you didn't want Joe Burrow in the playoffs. You can go ahead and scream and curse as much as you want on your podcast, Travis Kelce. It was pretty obvious to all of us. So there's some teams out there that aren't going to live in fear of this organization. Hopefully everyone takes a look at the film, because when they have Rashee Rice and year 2 of Xavier Worthy, and they're going to draft somebody, like, they're going to have weapons. I think the Chiefs are going to be good as long as Mahomes and Reed are there. But maybe they're not. We're penciling them into the AFC Championship game every year good after that ass whooping. Because it's revisionist history to say this is the worst Chiefs team that we've seen. They went out there and won 15 fucking games, and they sat everybody last week of the season. But I'm with you. The thing that I would be the most worried about is if they're now galvanized, if they're now, they're laser focused and they fucking went out there and took a sharpener and said, we got to be hungry again. If they're super hungry and they're the Chiefs, that's still going to be a problem for everyone.
Yeah. One of the worst Chiefs teams we've ever seen. You got me?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. One of the worst Chiefs teams we've ever seen had one loss, and the other had 2 losses, and the second one was a sit all the starters matchup. Like, they're going to continue to have success. I just hope it's a little more competitive, and they're actually battling in December and November.
Greg Manassas, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Very generous. The Eagles put on a masterclass on how to dismantle the Chiefs. Is Casey's run over, or can they regroup and run it back next year? Also, is Travis Kelce finally out of our lives? Well, he's not going to be out of our lives the way Peyton Manning isn't out of our lives, or Marshawn Lynch isn't out of our lives, or he's way more annoying than both of those guys. So no, the answer is no on that. Rashee Rice is going to be back next year again. I think Worthy really came out at the end of the season. They're going to have another draft. T. Higgins is available. Most likely. I mean, there's going to be some wide receivers that Cincinnati won't pay. Is Tyreek Hill going to be a possibility? No, I doubt there, but there's going to be an opportunity for them to have the wake-up call of, we can't just bring in an injured Hollywood Brown and run it back with Isaiah Pacheco and we'll find a Kareem Hunt. Like, they're going to have to invest in some talent, especially Tor, with Pat Mahomes making, let's be honest, far less than market value would be. A lot of other teams have a lot more constraints than the Kansas City Chiefs do when it comes to their salary cap.
Kansas City was so smart to just say, hey, we're going to bite this bullet. We're going to lock you in for 10 years. It's going to be a massive salary. We're giving you a top-tier baseball player salary right now. Great. Lock me in for 10 years. Give me some ownership stake in the Royals. Now he's not even in the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks. Might not even be he might have gotten ousted from the top 10, and he's the best in the league. So it's just smart. Sometimes these teams, I don't know if they can convince a guy, but it's always smarter if you have that known commodity at quarterback. Just pay him as soon as you can. Just pay him right then, because someone's going to come along, some dickhead's going to come along, mess up the market, and they're going to be worse. And then your guy, who might be talented, is going to want much more than that guy that came in that's getting 8 wins.
Have we thought about the brotherly shove getting outlawed this offseason? Because it's something that they've talked about in the past. It's something that it used to be, not something that was allowed in the league. And a lot of people, a lot of vocal bitching is going on about this. I know this sounds trivial, but if they take that weapon away from the Philadelphia Eagles, are they the Super Bowl champions today? No, I don't think they are. So I think that's a huge consideration. And they're going to lose another coordinator. They had to lose a set of coordinators, realize the guys they brought in were no good, boot them out, and bring in another set of coordinators before they go back to the Super Bowl. And again, they did that. And they're as close to a dynasty in the NFC as we have, but there's some questions about them as well. Greg, thank you so much. Jeff Schools, $2. Thank you for the super chat. Did Tor just have a stroke? Tor, an answer?
Thought that there was some connection issues on my end. I was not trying to slow down the show with awkwardness.
So you opted for silence. Awkwardness.
Yes. We're phasing in and out a little bit here. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me know if you have any issues. Thank you so much, Jeff Schools. Patrick McAteer, $4.99. Fat Tax, $2.45. Live bet the over when it was 40-6. 2 garbage touchdowns later. Made all my money back plus a hundo. Smart bet. You knew that in garbage time, the Chiefs were going to go and make it look respectable. And that's exactly what they did. But there would be no Falcons, New England Patriotsing taking place in that game. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for the super chat, Patrick. Very kind of you. I sent this over to you as well, Tor. This is leave it to Big Dick Nick to do some piling on. He tweeted this out at 11 p.m. on the night of the Super Bowl. It's got 4.9 million views. It's the time I screen capped it. It says, it's really cool that Tom Brady got to be there for the Eagles' 2 Super Bowl wins. He might be a good luck charm. Have a great night. He's talking shit, of course, but what I would also say, Tor, is that Brady was there for also Mahomes losing the Super Bowl twice as well. I mean, I can't imagine that him being in the booth calling the game had any type of sway over it. But if we're talking about getting in people's heads and the mental space they're in, it's something that I pondered for a couple of minutes last night.
I mean, I had a real moron call me on Sunday and say, hey, do you see that Brady is doing an interview with Mahomes?
Was it Smiley or was it Humpty? Who was it that called?
Humpty called me. Yeah. He said, do you know that there's interviews happening before the game and they're airing it before the game? I said, no, I was unaware. I'll tune in on my YouTube TV account. And I saw it. I'm like, oh, he thought that was going to get in Mahomes' head because he's looking against a guy that beat him in the Super Bowl, asking him a bunch of questions, asking a bunch of legacy stuff. Both of them know the dynamic there. It's possible that it got in his head. I like Nick Foles kind of just going and keeping a bit alive. It's going to get real tired eventually, but NFL players talking a little bit of trash lightly to each other. It doesn't harm anyone. It is what it is. It's better than.
It's not as crazy as Eli freestyling about how he beat Tom Brady twice. That video gets circulated quite a bit. If I beat Tom Brady, it would never not be brought up everywhere all the time. David Flaccoberry, $5. Thank you so much, David. Fat again, an awkward Tor tax. Great show, solid dudes. Oh boy, Tor, your reputation precedes you.
I'm gonna have to. I'll rewatch this and I'll see. I got to see how uncomfortable I was for that moment. Geez, thank you, David. I appreciate it.
He's a good man. Grammy, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
He's drunk. He's drunk.
He's just hammered. Like
He's still drunk.
Well, he's spamming the chat. He's saying, "Why are we talking shit about Nick Foles?" Who the fuck is talking shit about Nick Foles?
Who cares about Nick Foles? He made a joke. He made a decent at best joke on Twitter.
Come back in a few. You got to calm down. You can't, Grimy, you can't sit here and realize we weren't right. You can't be happy. Fuck me, dude. Just spamming. First of all, I don't even look at the free chat. I look at the super fucking chat, Chad. And then I caught a glimpse and I said, why are there 800 chats in a row from the same guy? Oh, it's Grimy. Of course. Angry as fuck the day after the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
God.
Motherfucker.
He should be on a train up to Philly right now. Not doing this. If Atlanta ever won a Super Bowl, you wouldn't catch me in the same zip code the day after. I'm heading to the 404. I'm getting down in the A.
Hey, Grammy, bring a fire extinguisher with you. I hear they need it up there. They're stealing police horses and fucking jumping up and down on top of cop cars.
Trying to flip ambulances who are trying to rescue people that these people also beat up. It's a mess. It's a total
miserable
disaster.
They cannot be happy, and we knew they were going to do it regardless of whether or not they won or lost. And enjoy your victory, you fucking rednecks. Jeff Schools, $2 super chat. Thank you so much, bud. There's a word I used back in the 80s for Nick. Nick Foles? What is going on? Did we say something about Nick Foles that I don't understand, Tor? I thought we were just showing a funny little bit of shtick.
Yeah, say that Nick Foles got one over on Brady.
Yeah. It was a decent tweet. Decent effort by Nick Foles. No one's thinking about Nick Foles right now.
He got a big pop. He's a Philly legend. He's an Eagles hero.
Doesn't he have a statue? I think he's got a statue. Could be wrong. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. We do accept super chats on this show for those of you that don't know. Okay. Here we go. And let's get to it, Tor. This is ridiculous, of course, but I thought it would be fun for us to at least discuss. This is the power ranking ESPN put out today for the 2025 season. At the top of it, they have the Kansas City Chiefs. How can that possibly be? Is it because they're pointing out that they got an additional pick because they traded L'Jarius Sneed to some bum franchise? I don't know how you can look at this and say that's the case. They have the Buffalo Bills too. I can see that simply because the Bills lost a bunch of crucial pieces and were actually better. I could see them. Some of their draft picks didn't pan out all that well, so I could see them getting better. Detroit is 3 on their power ranking. This is ESPN's they put out today. In the aftermath of the loss of the Commanders coach Dan Campbell Star said, I don't know. How do you have the Detroit Lions here after they lose both their offensive and defensive coordinators?
That's the laziest describe this offseason in 3 words. Adjust and improve. That's so lazy. That's so lazy to just say adjust. You could say that for every single
team in the league.
It has to adjust and improve. 3 words for Detroit is hope and pray that the next people come in are competent. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Lightning in bottle. That's what the offseason needs to be. Keep it together. Not adjust and improve. Keep it together is what you need for Detroit. Top 5, I'm cool with them, but top 5. But God,
how about invest in trainers?
Yeah.
I think that probably would be a better course of action. They got the champs at 4.
It's insulting.
I guess maybe that's just because Saquon had literally the greatest season. He topped Terrell Davis, I think, in the second quarter, all-time rushing yards in an entirety of a season. But they're going to lose their offensive coordinator to the New Orleans Saints. What did you think of Sirianni kind of, I won't say begging, but he certainly was politicking for everybody to come back and run it back during all of his post-game speeches?
I would. He's at least being kind of honest here. Like, hey, we just did this. I think we could do it again. I'd like to do it again. This is a pretty good feeling. You want to go to New Orleans and coach that team? Why? Look what we just accomplished.
If you're Kellen Moore, I'll go back to that. But I realize that there's only so many of these jobs, Tor, and they don't come along all that often, and your shit can change real quick. You go out there and Jalen Hurts gets hurt, and he's the offensive coordinator for Kenny Pickett for 17, 18 weeks. Your prospects can look a lot differently. But, Tor, how the fuck is being the offensive coordinator for that team not a better job than the head coach of the New Orleans Saints? And I'm being dead serious.
It's really shocking. I don't understand it. They're these coordinators, maybe they need to be paid more to stay. They need to get offered more. I wish Ben Johnson would have stayed with Detroit. That idiot in Jacksonville now is going to.
Oh my God.
He's going to crash and burn in a way that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, this is going to be a real good one that we got cooking up this offseason. I'm excited for it. I hope I will tune into every single one of his press conferences when he tries to really button it up in football.
Oh, sure.
For the offseason. Like, yeah, I know, but you still said Duval like that. Like, you're never going to get away from me.
I mean, I think that being a coordinator, you're provided with so much deflection. Like the coach has, maybe it's just because it's all the credit in the world, but we know more about coordinators now that you're constantly getting interviewed. The salaries are what head coaching salaries used to be just a couple years ago. Liam Cohen, I believe I have a video of his introductory press conference here. You think she would get up from that, Tor? I don't know that she got up from that. Liam Cohen, everybody, former offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So ESPN says Philadelphia at 4, Ravens at 5. Ravens at 5. Yeah, I mean, they're always going to be a top 5 team. Derrick Henry, I would assume he's not going to have the season needed this year, but I imagine he can be very competitive. Yeah. Look who's at number 6, Gigantor. Your Washington Commanders, 12-5. Keep on building this offseason in 3 words. Well done. Well done, Espen. Yeah, I like this. I like what John Keim has to say here. They got $80 million in cap space. They got the reigning rookie of the year. They can do some moving and shaking this offseason.
I would go toe-to-toe. I would lobby for the Commanders toe-to-toe with their quarterback against a lot of the quarterbacks that are coming beneath them, and we'll have a little expectation off of who we think is going to play better. And I'm looking at 7 right now, looking at Green Bay there. I think Jaden has the edge over Jordan Love.
I completely agree.
He had a real chance this year. He looked really great at times. He looked really bad at times. Idiot Justin Herbert, you're on that list too, buddy. You've been in the league for too long now to be getting usurped by Jaden Daniels. But it happened. Help Justin Herbert. Oh, I'm sure they've done nothing to try to help that dude. Give me a break.
Lad McConkey's great. They'll be able to add pieces, but the toughness that we thought that Jim Harbaugh was going to bring, his ability to take them to the postseason and his first season, it was all there, Tor. So I actually like this. I like this Chargers pick here. I like them being in the top 10. Cincinnati at 9. I'm never going to trust that they're going to spend the money. I wouldn't have given. I'm not going to give Parsons and Prescott the money the Cowboys are ultimately going to give them. But Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, there should be lines out the door to give both of them as much money as they possibly can. And it's just not what Cincinnati does, man.
It's frustrating. Cincinnati had a legit MVP candidate, the best wide receiver in football, a phenomenal number 2 wide receiver, and the sack leader this year, and did just about nothing with it. I continue to hold out hope. I'm holding out for a hero with Cincinnati, and they're just not going to deliver. And if they do, I will be pleasantly surprised. The NFL peaked when they were really challenging Kansas City. That was a phenomenal year. And keep on trying to get back at it. Your quarterback's legit, but they don't do the right things.
Minnesota rounds out the top 10, 14-3. Of course, Sam Darnold most likely going to be one of those free agent quarterbacks. So look at Lean Tur. This is just for fun. I have fun with this shit on here. It's the day after the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about this except me. But the Titans were named as a suitor for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I know that sounds shitty on paper, but they really played well at the back half of the season, and the Titans have some nice skill position players. They have a lot of holes as well. But I was taking a look at the quarterbacking position. We're just assuming, is the latest still that Kirk Cousins is going to somehow find his way out to the market? I would imagine he's not going to waive his no trade clause. There's no reason for him to do that. He can pull a Derek Carr and get everything that he wants. But is that still what people are expecting? Is that eventually the Falcons are going to have to cut Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, there's not much in the rumor mill of, Kirk might stay for that. No, it is well expected that Kirk Cousins is on his way out.
So Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, there's still some flirtation, I guess, between Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know that he was asked about joining Pete Carroll in Las Vegas, and he said, I'm focused on Pittsburgh. But Darnold, Fields, Wilson, Daniel Jones, I think, is a free agent, even though I know he signed with Minnesota. I don't think they extended his deal. I believe that's up. I could be mistaken, but this is not necessarily a robust class tour, but there's some guys in there that are serviceable and will be motivated. Cousins to me is the biggest question mark, not from a financial perspective, because the Falcons are going to be on so much of a hook, but he got benched for performance, man. He was playing like dog shit, and Rodgers wasn't. And Russell Wilson was not great after, the first few weeks he's with the Steelers, but he certainly looked a little more serviceable than Cousins. That's a big enigma for me moving forward.
The first month of Russell Wilson starting was phenomenal, and you thought I thought he hadn't missed a step. Kind of looked away from the Steelers and just let that pot simmer. I looked back, I'm like, the Steelers Twitter is melting down. They are seeing the cracks in the veneer, and it's just collapsed on him. Kirk, I mean, he'll probably be more mobile this time next year. More time to recover from the Achilles. I know it can't help that he just played damn near a full NFL season at his age. But yeah, not much love lost for him. He was a big idiot, taking a huge shot in week 10 at his arm. And that was right before the 4-game losing streak. And that's where he started throwing all the picks, and they were losing off hideously. He couldn't throw the ball hard, and apparently no one knew that his arm was hurting, and he took that huge shot. So I don't know what his health status is. He just opened that dialogue up this month, and right. Everyone's just freaked. Like that freaked me out. Like you took the season in your hands because you thought you were going to play through a massive shot you took to your shoulder and elbow. No, not appropriate, Kirk Cousins. Not good form from him. I was not happy with it. If he said, I'm hurt and I'm trying to tough it out, would have gotten respect from the fans. Sure. But later, after the season, to admit that put me in a pretty bad spot with him.
With some of those guys, Kirk and Aaron specifically, like I would assume that if they're getting signed someplace, those teams are also in the market for a quarterback. I don't know if it's Cam or Shedeur, or if those guys are going. I saw 4 or 5 quarterbacks in some mock drafts going in the first round, which seems like such a stretch, but I don't know. Drake May was supposed to wait for a full year tour, and that was Jacoby Brissett in front of him. I know that's a horse of a different color, but when it's a guy with an ego and a massive deal and, MVP candidate, I wonder how that's going to work with these guys being a bridge quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised. Cousins likes money too much. I see Cousins continuing to play. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers hung up the Spurs and just said, I'm not going to sit here on a bad team and keep the seat warm while the bad draft pick that you have cooking before you ruin your quarterback that you just drafted.
Right. It's at this point, he needs to, I guess, assess his ego, assess what's worth. Is this worth if he cares about preserving legacy, if he cares how he goes out, if he's going out on his own terms, it would be hard to go out worse than the Jets saga. That's tough. The injury was awful. This year was really unfortunate on a lot of fronts for that team and the potential that they had. And if he goes to Tennessee, all right, bring Devontae Adams. You got Nick Westbrook Akine, and then you got Calvin Ridley.
That's not bad, man. And Tony
not
Pollard
bad.
at 1,000 yards. Okay, so
And they've
Rodgers.
reinvested on the offensive line. They keep on drafting. If they draft another offensive lineman or in the second, third round and get a quarterback for the future, that's not a bad. It's just not a bad season. I would not be that pessimistic going into it.
He had some decent games at the end of the year. This year, let's take a look here. He had 4 touchdowns against the Miami Dolphins. Played really bad on that smear of a loss against Buffalo, but 3 touchdowns against Jacksonville. Finally went over the 300 yards. He had 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and almost 4,000 yards. Aaron Rodgers did in a lost season. So I don't think that's as crazy. Of course, you get everything that comes along with him.
Yeah.
But if you're also, you got to see Tennessee's a market that needs. They need some sizzle. They need a reason for people to get excited. There's not much of one there. I don't know that Cam Ward does it. Maybe Travis Henry. If you bring in Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and you're drafting Travis Hunter, that's immediate fucking headlines. But their general manager, team president, they hired 35 executives this offseason. They all have titles I've never heard of. They're saying they need a generational talent. That ain't fucking that ain't Shadur. Slider 499. Thank you, brother. Please never stop playing that girl falling, heading back into the studio. Like, yeah, that's you're mistaken, sir. This is Liam Cohen, the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, taking the podium after their week 1 loss to the Tech. There's like a crunch at the end, and you see your feet
so loud. There was no carpet in that room. You know, she just landed on just a thick beam underneath the floor. There's no give.
Oh boy. Thank you, Slider.
If I fell like that,
yeah.
If I fell like that today,
can you imagine?
What would my week look like?
I mean, this girl weighs 80 fucking pounds. Can you imagine if you or I fell off a stool and all that weight came down on our...
I'd quit my job. And
you'd be quitting this ethereal plane, brother. What are you talking about?
That's tough. That would be. I got caught in the thick of New York City when we got like 3 inches. It was. I almost went down big time in the snow. Multiple times. Saw a lady beating the shit out of this guy also.
Nice.
And then threw his phone down. He was like, he ran away.
New York's great. Catching 3 inches is generally what the Instagram baby girls get from young Gigantor on the weekends. But speaking of which, some guy in the chat says $1,000,000, boys. I would agree. You got to speak one-on-one with the great one this weekend, did you not?
Yeah, this past Wednesday, I went to the Hard Rock. I didn't see Gianni, but I'm sure he was floating. I was welcomed by the great Earl Douglas, which I've just such a dumb mark. As soon as I saw him, it felt like I was seeing a rock star. I felt the grin happen before I even processed I was smiling.
Well, hold on. In our world, who is a bigger star than Black Earl Douglas?
I don't know.
His existence.
I saw the Instagram notification of that they're going to be live, and you can go see Ron Bennington do stand up and have Black Earl sit you at your table and watch him control the vibe and get people going. It was great. It was nice. Ronnie B killed. To me, the crowd.
That's such a great picture. Look how happy you are.
I was so happy. Happiest I've been all year.
It's on Tor's Instagram if you want to check it out. Is it Sanderson Radio over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. It's that is Tor at the Hard Rock in Manhattan with the very famous proprietor of the Black Rock Coalition, Mr. Earl Douglas, which of course you know I'm a huge fan.
And they were getting out of there. Quick. I looked like Ron was trying to smoke a little stogie. I creepily walked up to him and shouted, "Ron!" And I had no bass in my voice, like familiarity. It was just like, hear me. I shook his hand, told him he killed, and told that Chad Dukes thinks he's a genius, where he said, he's right. And I said, thanks. Great show. And then
did he remember you from FezCon or no?
I doubt it. I maybe he would just there he is. He's coming at me again. Let me just put on the nice face. So I'm I'm trying
your
to be
girth
more.
makes an impression, man. I mean, I imagine he doesn't have guys your size lumbering towards him on a regular basis.
You seen radio listeners? It's about the closest where I fit in.
That's such a great pick. Who else? It was Joe List and Bobby Kelly and Bonnie McFarlane, right?
And Keith Robinson.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, he came back from a stroke. He was good. He just really wanted to keep doing comedy. Joe List made me laugh pretty hard. Robert Kelly laughing my teeth out at him. He just absolutely killed me.
Does he host the Bonfire now?
I'm not sure. I know he's featured on. I see him.
Soder left, and I think it's Bonfire and Big J do that show now. I haven't subscribed to Sirius in a million years, so I wouldn't know, but I think he's on that show with them. That's awesome, man. I'm usually not jealous of much going on in New York, but that's a super cool thing to be able to just bop on over and take in.
It just felt like, what am I doing up here if I'm not going to see this? Like this is something that, going to a bunch of clubs, that doesn't mean anything to me, but watching Robert Kelly go on the stage and just tear it up and then send a weepy message to him afterwards on Instagram. That's what it's all worth to me.
If you went over to the Borgata on Saturday, you would have seen Kevin Brennan getting thrown out of the poker room. And then apparently, allegedly getting 2 speeding tickets driving home on the Jersey City Parkway. It was a wild weekend up there in the Dabbleverse. All right, very good. Bobby and Big J host the Bonfire. Yep, those are 2 funny dudes. Hold My Hand, Man. Ouch, ouch, my knee is literally the funniest story I've ever heard on the radio. Right? Like, is there a funny? I mean, I think if you go and you listen to Jim Norton talk about Bill Burr's grandmother giving him a blowjob, that might be that might be the hardest I've ever laughed at a bit on the radio. But Bob Kelly playing flag football with Dane Cook and blowing his knee out, that's a close second.
I've used my knee man in recent production, and I'm always excited to hear it because it's just, I don't know, you just can't describe the fandom. And then, like, at the event, there's people that were just Bennington fans that I just started listening in 2018, 2019. I'm like, oh, please, please. Dude, work back a little bit.
You get Ron Bennington on a show, you're going to draw in a special type of fan. I mean, that you're talking about hot talk radio fan for 30 fucking years. There is no more loyal fan base. So they do well by themselves. Hey, do you have a UFL team that's coming up in just a few weeks, right?
Oh, maybe I'll.
Are you a Defenders? Are you a Defenders guy?
I should be. I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to be mean to the Defenders. You know what? I am a Defenders guy. I got a former teammate that plays for the Defenders now.
Yeah.
I am team Defenders through and through.
See, I think that I've been roped into going to a Defenders game. I think that Evan from Evan and Sarah, Ant-Man, there's just a hideous cabal of fucking drunk sports people that just go to everything, and they want to get a suite and go to the Defenders opener. And I might have agreed to do that, but I've really got to revisit that issue. So
I'm gonna buy a big hat. It's also going to be the creepiest hat available, and I'm gonna wear that for about 6 months.
A big hat. Let's take a look here. Let's see. There's 8 teams this year. They've added 2 teams. Tour. It's the Birmingham Stallions, Houston Rednecks, Memphis Showboats, Michigan Panthers, Arlington Renegades, and DC Defenders. Let's see when the league schedule is. Well, let me, if I can just pull this up so we can have a look real quick. I'm desperate. I probably will lose interest after the first week, but right now I'm already feeling I'm jonesing.
Yeah. Well, they need to have another good commercial season. They had some good commercials last year promoting the league, where you're in the restaurant and everyone's doing like the football noises and the like acting like they're in a huddle. I thought that was creative and smart. Like, hey, football's not gone. It's just around the corner. Just a reminder, they just keep that up. Just pepper people. Let them know that you're here. That there will be football on TV.
The Battlehawks, who had Anthony Beck, the coach of the Battlehawks, on the team. I think they won the championship. And then it looks like the Birmingham Stallions at the DC Defenders Audi Field. Week 1 is March 30th. Looks like week 1 starts March 28th, goes to the 29th and the 30th. So games all that weekend. Yeah, I could be excited for this for a couple of weeks, I think.
I'll have it on. I'll listen to the pads. I think that'll be fun for me.
And most people shit all over their chances to even have a season 2, correct? I feel like they're out ahead of And a couple of these teams really draw well. I think St. Louis draws well. Washington draws well.
Birmingham does well because they win a bunch of games.
They got to get out of those football stadiums. They got to be in.
They need soccer stadiums, smaller, make it a little more intimate.
Yeah.
Also for the UFL, could you come up with a new kickoff rule so the NFL can steal it, and could it be better than your last kickoff rule? Just a little bit better, just a little tweak. And I don't mind it. I just want to see kickoffs. It's the most potentially fun play in football, and there's none of it.
You saw they're taking a victory lap about how safe everything is and concussions are down. That means guardian caps and the new kickoff rule. It's like, no. You're not diagnosing concussions with the same tenacity as you were 5 years ago when it was a hot button issue. It's COVID and the flu, dummies. You're just moving the numbers around. We're not stupid.
Somebody in the championship round was wearing a guardian cap and got smoked and had to get carted off the field. Once non-football people that are getting ingratiated understand that there's going to be football injuries that you can't prevent, that people are just going to get hurt in this game, I then just say we're going to try to limit what we can. But this game is so violent that I don't know. I don't get it. If you went out and played football, if you took one of these people out of their offices, put them in pads, and let them tackle somebody and get tackled, I think they have a different point of view. I think they completely attack the game, how they approach it, way differently. But they're just talking to a bunch of dorks. Talk to the actual teams, the players. What do they want?
It's like working at a restaurant. You need to wait tables, and you'll understand how to treat people that wait tables. Enoch, $2. Thank you, buddy. Gonna try to make a game more football. Sign me up. Hey, man, let me know. I think we're gonna try to divvy up a suite or some shit. I have no idea if you'll fit, but we'll try to make it happen. Thank you, Enoch. Hopefully, we see you again someday. And a baby, it's very, very hard. It's been a long time, Tor, since we've seen Enoch.
Congratulations again, Enoch.
Very excited. Yep, get the podcast on Spotify and iTunes, please. That would be fantastic. And for Radio's Gigantor, I'm Chad Dukes, reminding you that we talk about the NFL and the NFL off season, both types of sports, on both types of sports. And we do it for a long time.
Hey, what do you got?
Both types of sports.
Yeah, what's it do? Go long. Real long.